Welcome back to our series called Across State Lines, a series where we dissect and speculate the most notorious cold cases of each state. Today, we delve deep into a spree of killings that were so infamous that they are the origin of a Hollywood film and a video game in the state of Arkansas. What should we say? What's like a sophisticated-ish thing to say? Something that encapsulates who we are and why we're doing this.
Just two guys who think that unsolved crimes are fascinating.
Yep, just two dudes who have a yearning for justice. I guess what you just said. I'm Sean.
I'm David.
Perfect. That's all you guys need to know. A lot of stuff happened. Got married, summer, school.
Shout out.
Haven't been at it. We never claimed we'd be consistent, nor are we ever going to make that claim.
True.
But yeah, we're back, and maybe be a month, 2 months, 3.
The world may never know.
We will never know. Let's jump into it. Oh, first of all, considering we are the Hoosier podcast, huge shout out to the Indianapolis Colts for a great win in the NFL, and to the Hoosier college football team of Indiana for an amazing last-second touchdown that you have to see to believe.
Calling it now. Mendoza wins the Heisman.
The Texarkana Phantom Murders. February 22nd, 1946, 11:45 p.m. Jimmy Hollis and his girlfriend, Mary LeRae, were parked in a secluded area in Texarkana. Texarkana is a city on the borders of Texas and Arkansas. After having just seen a movie, while enjoying their alone time, suddenly they were flashed by a bright light through Mary's window. The man shining the light had a white pillowcase-like mask over his face with 2 eye holes cut out. Hollis told the man that he had the wrong people, to which the man replied, quote, "I don't want to kill you, fellow, so do what I say," end quote. Just right off the bat, does this remind you of anything we watched previously this year?
Oh, man. You know, I know exactly where you're going with this. Zodiac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was reading this, I was like, holy crap, we watched that, back January?
Something like that. Man, 1946. I was going to say.
So it's way before the Zodiac. Low key, this guy walked so the Zodiac killer could run. Once out of the car, the hooded figure ordered Jimmy to take his pants off. Okay, that sounds a lot more goofy when you read it out loud.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. After doing so, the man hit Jimmy with his pistol in the head, breaking his skull. The hits were so brutal and loud that LeRae thought he had been shot. Doing everything she could, she told the masked man that they had no money, thinking this was some perverse robbery. She was then hit with a blunt object, possibly the attacker's flashlight. She then heard a terrifying command from the assailant: "Run." With the adrenaline moving her faster than she could keep up, she spotted a parked car on the side of the road. Unfortunately, it was empty upon arrival. To make matters worse, the masked figure had caught up to her. Bizarrely, he asked, quote, "Why are you running?" end quote. When LeRae replied that he had ordered her to, he flew into a fit of rage, calling her a liar, before knocking her down and sexually assaulting her with the gun. Thankfully, a miracle happened, as the perpetrator was interrupted due to oncoming headlights. LeRae was able to escape and call the police. Miraculously, they both survived this heinous attack, and Jimmy recovered in the hospital from his skull fracture. Jimmy and Mary tried giving police any clues they could. They both agreed he was 6 foot, but Mary said he was possibly African American, while Jimmy insisted he was white. Unbeknownst to them, their conflicting descriptions would cause the police to think this was all a hoax, and that maybe this had to do with a love triangle, and the 2 victims were covering for the assailant, which would lead to a shoddy investigation that ended up nowhere.
It sounds like a fever dream. Like some dude with a bag over his head tells you to take your pants off, and then tells you to run, and then asks why you're running.
That's what is so bizarre to me. I'm like, obviously this guy's not right in the head, right off of Jump Street, right? But it's like, how much of a mental fog are you in to say that, and then 30 seconds later forget that you said that, and then beat someone because they told you that's what you said?
Maybe he's schizophrenic.
But do schizophrenic people say things they don't know they're saying?
I thought it was like is schizophrenia different from multiple personality disorder?
Yeah, schizophrenia is like they're talking to things that aren't there.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the other one, where it's like two people existing inside of one.
You might be onto something.
Where was I in 1946?
Bro, you might be onto something. This is why he's qualified to be on the show, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think of the fact that since they didn't know what the skin color of a guy under a mask was, that the cops were like, they lying. This is all a hoax. We're not looking into it. And this guy's head is half beaten into his skull. And they're like, nah, it's a prank.
And that also doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like, obviously a serious crime was committed. There has to be an investigation regardless of love triangle or whatever. I mean, I guess from the voice, is that how they're assuming that he's black or white? Or
I would assume it's the little eye hole cuts they possibly saw.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair too.
But I'm like, what cop hears two conflicting statements of what the assailant looked like and thought, oh, so they're covering for him. What? First of all, why? If you got half beaten to death, are you covering for the fool that did it?
No.
Yeah, no, nobody is. Thankfully, they both survived, but shame on the police in this moment for existing. Anyway. March 24th, 1 month and 2 days after the first attack, a motorcyclist riding in Bowie County, which was just a couple miles away from Texarkana, would pass by a car suspiciously parked on the road early in the morning. He went to go check it out and stumbled upon a nightmare. 2 dead bodies accompanying the car. Richard Griffin was in the driver's seat, on his knees, head in his hands, with his pockets turned inside out. Polly Moore was found in the back seat face down with her pockets turned out as well. However, blood-soaked dirt located outside the car made it clear they were shot and killed outside and placed inside after. They were both killed execution style. Strangely, Richard was shot twice more when placed in the car. Even though the victims were not as fortunate as the first attack, the killer left some clues to help track him down. Multiple .32 Colt pistol caliber shell casings were found at the crime scene, and footprints. Luck would have it that a rainstorm would wash away the footprints before they could be examined. On top of that, Richard and Polly were not examined by a pathologist, and whether the crime follows the same MO of sexual assault is up in the air. Regarding the investigation, it was not thought at the time to be connected to the previous attack on Jimmy and Mary. Even with the gruesome beatings and murders, the people of Texarkana were unfazed by the whole ordeal. That is, until the second double homicide.
Killing someone and dragging them back inside the car. Freaking wild. And bodies are heavy too. I mean, we're talking, I don't know how much these guys weighed and how strong, this other guy was that lifted them. But I mean, bodies are heavy. And it's kind of weird that the pockets are turned inside out. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I think the reasoning is like a robbery. Let's say it is the same guy from the first one.
Right.
That's not his MO.
Exactly.
Is he trying to now make it look like it was a robbery gone wrong?
Oh, I see. Okay.
If so, why? Is he trying to not have him connect to the other one? So it's like, oh, this one was a robbery gone wrong. The first attack was just heinous psychopath. The only thing I could think of why shoot Richard again in the car is homie was still alive.
What else is connecting this incident to the first?
Well, so the victims in the style and location. Both young couples in a secluded, lover's lane at night, and both killed or attacked with a pistol.
Okay.
So
that tracks.
That's what we're working with right now. April 14th at 6:30 a.m., 3 weeks later, 2 more bodies would be discovered in a similar style near a lover's lane. A young couple, Paul Martin and Betty Jo Booker, had last been seen at a musical club at 1:30 a.m. when Paul picked up Betty after she had performed. She played the saxophone. Then, at 6:30 a.m., a family would stumble upon Paul's corpse on the edge of the North Park Road. Paul had been shot 4 times, once through the nose, through the ribs from behind, in the right hand, and through the back of the neck. A nearby blood puddle would make it clear there was another victim, so the Texarkana police would start a search party. 5 hours later, at 11:30, Betty's body would be found almost 2 miles from Paul's. She was behind a tree on her back, fully clothed, with her hand in her pocket, almost as if it was staged. She had been shot twice, and they both were killed by a .32 Colt pistol. With Paul's car nowhere in sight, it would take the search party a while to discover it 3 miles away from Paul's body, with the key still in the ignition. Just like how the masked man forced Jimmy and Mary out of the car, they too, presumably, were forced out of their car and ran. It would also be discovered that Betty had also been violated by her attacker. 3 latent fingerprints were found in the car, but ended up being unusable. That was not their biggest lead, however. Betty's saxophone that should have been in the car was missing. So, kind of the same. Lover's Lane, couple, shot dead. It seems it could have been the same thing where, as the first attack, they get out of the car and he tells them to run because Paul had been shot through the ribs from behind and the neck from behind. Unless he, made them get on their knees and, shot him behind, like an execution. If they were running and he was just popping shots at them, that would explain, 1, why they're all over the place on his body, and 2, why they're all from behind.
You want to talk about jumping to conclusions? Here's me jumping to conclusions. But how wild would it be if this dude, obviously establishing the pattern of people in Lover's Lane and such, if he's jealous of these guys, something like that, and just literally executes this guy, mob, reacher, whatever you want to call it, kind of stuff.
His MO would be jealousy in the sense of maybe he can't get a girl, and he sees all these young people doing it.
Something like that.
No, I'm not saying it.
Mixed with a little bit of multiple personality disorder.
Anything's possible.
I mean?
Hey, could be. We can't say no.
You never know.
For once, the investigation had a lead. This led investigators to believe that maybe it wasn't connected to the other murders, rather a robbery gone wrong. Low-key, saxophones are expensive.
Really?
They're more than $500. A nice saxophone, she's in a band, she performs. Who's to say it didn't cost $1,000?
Terry, Google that. I guess it's interesting because, at least as far as we know, there's nothing missing in the first 2 crime scenes, right?
No, but, maybe because the pockets were turned out, right? Terry, pull up how much a saxophone costs. See, I kid you not, $2,920 for a saxophone.
Oh my god.
Granted, it's probably a nice one. There's one on here. Still $500. So, a saxophone's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, and even when you take into account inflation and whatever else, that's still a ridiculous amount of money for a freaking instrument.
So I see why the police, how they got to that. Because the first 2 attacks are just physical assaults. And this one's something is missing, so maybe there's something there. 11 days later, a suspiciously nervous-looking man tried selling a saxophone to a music shop in Christie, Texas. When the manager started asking questions about the saxophone, the man made a run for it. The police were called and a description of the man was given. A couple days later, the police found him. The man had a .45 caliber revolver in his possession, and a bag full of bloody clothes was found in his hotel room, but no saxophone. He explained the bloody clothes were from a bar fight. After days of questioning and relentless pressure, he was finally cleared as a suspect. The leading investigator, Gonzalez, said this, quote, "This man has been completely eliminated. He has been checked and double-checked, and he couldn't have had anything to do with the murder cases here," end quote. On top of that, Polly Moore's saxophone would be found 6 months later under a bush where her body had been found. What are the odds? How crazy and what are the odds? No way he's not involved.
I mean, it's one thing just to be selling a saxophone. You're like, all right, whatever. But a bunch of bloody clothes in the car?
Why would you be nervous to sell a saxophone? What if you do have a saxophone? You want to sell it. You know a missing saxophone is, you're like, I have nothing to do with that. I just want to sell a saxophone, but everyone's going to think I'm a murderer now for wanting to sell it. I'd be nervous.
Yeah, and I feel like, too, maybe it's a whole other separate... I don't know if I call it a crime, but other questionable act attached to the saxophone, maybe there was some high schooler that he punched in the face and stole their saxophone. And so he's nervous to sell this because obviously this kid's going to report it or something.
Saxophone peddling, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe this dude stole the saxophone out of a car, locker, some other random thing where you would, put a saxophone. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I'd be nervous to.
There could be, yeah.
To sell something.
It doesn't mean you killed Betty and Paul, but there's reasonable explanations for why someone would be nervous in that time to sell a saxophone.
100%.
I take it back. I should be this dude's lawyer.
I think you would have done a better job.
I don't know. He got off scot-free, so.
No, that's true. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, I've never been in a bar fight, but I've also never shot somebody.
True.
So,
it just happens. He has a bag full of bloody clothes. There wasn't a law on this, but they must have tested the blood, seen it was his, and maybe some other unidentified person. So they're like, okay, it's not connected to this attack. You're free to go,
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder how much of it, like how much blood was on these clothes versus, when you shoot someone.
That's true.
Versus getting in a bar fight,
How much blood could get on your clothes from a bar fight?
You bust your nose, and assuming there's no, knives or anything.
True, yeah.
Other than busting your nose, I don't know where else you could get a whole lot of blood.
I have some freak bloody noses, so...
You do.
The soaking bloody clothes in a bag from a bloody nose, I can see it. Just saying.
Yeah, no,
I ain't this dude's lawyer. Maybe I should be, but...
Agreed.
The killing of Polly and Paul was the last straw for the people of Texarkana. A strict curfew was set. People would guard their porches with their guns at night and force anyone who walked by to identify themselves. This mass hysteria wasn't just paranoia. Detective Gonzalez would tell this to the concerned citizens of Texarkana. Quote, "I'd tell them to check the locks and bolts on their doors and get a double-barreled shotgun to take care of any intruder who tries to get in." End quote. Baller. Also, fun fact about this Detective Gonzalez, we don't really have this anymore, which is kind of sad. He was like a renowned detective in the 40s. The kind like in the movies, he's never had a cold case. He's solved everything. He can't be killed, that kind of thing. He was that dude in the 40s.
Dang, that's sick.
Rumor has it this is the only case he could never solve.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He made statements saying, "I'm not leaving here until it's solved." And he eventually just had to because he's like, we got nothing. It's been months.
Reading that quote, tell me that you're a detective in Texas without telling me that you're a detective in Texas.
Exactly. Get a gun, lock your doors. I'm sold. The local papers had dubbed the person the Phantom Killer.
It does remind me of this, you know what? It actually might be a meme that one of us sent the other, where it was like, maybe there'd be less murders if we stopped giving them sick names. And instead it was like the small PP killer. Does that ring a bell at all? Yeah. That's what I thought of him. Because the Phantom Killer, that's a sick name.
I don't think writers understand the power they have. They hear about this murder. If they're the first to call it something, that's what it is.
It's going to stick.
That's what it is. It doesn't matter if it's stupid. It's what it is. You have so much power as a writer back in those days. Heck, even now, to literally be able to label whatever serial killer you want. You're the first to do it. It's someone that sticks. Who cares down the line 6 months, someone comes up with a better one? It doesn't matter. You did it first. So, with great power comes great responsibility.
Because it's on your head if they kill anybody else.
It is on your head. It's like, you're giving the killer, some of them are egotistical, like, that's freaking baller. My name is sweet. And they read the paper about themselves. Just remember, if you're a writer out there, don't give them a cool name. It's like our last case, the Cookie Bandit. Give him something stupid.
And they'll never do it again.
And it won't be on your head at all.
Mm-mm.
A reward for any information leading to the arrest of the Phantom Killer skyrocketed from $500 to nearly $6,500. That's the equivalent of nearly $77,000 today. The town suspected the killings were happening every 3 weeks, and their hunch proved to be right.
That was a good line.
Thank you. Before we move on, hearing that every 3 weeks is someone's getting killed, why do you think that is?
Either one, the dude gives himself like a cooldown of how often he kills someone, or, and this is the other super vague answer, there's something that he's doing in those 3 weeks where he can't be killing people, whether it's like a job or some kind of other obligation where he can only manage to do it every 3 weeks. Okay, yeah, so maybe he's working at like at this point, not even like overseas or anything, obviously.
But I'm sure there's aftermath of war. Like, you don't just... You get to go home. He's home, obviously, if he is an army guy killing people. But maybe he has obligations for 3 weeks, so he can't be there.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and what do you got to do with all the prisoners of war and all that. Because I'm sure they didn't just, let them all go the moment the treaty was signed.
Yeah.
So I don't know, yeah. There definitely could be a military tie to it. I like that.
But the cooldown period of 3 weeks is a thing. Serial killers do have a cooldown period where it's like they have to scratch that itch and then they're good. But then they have to scratch that itch and then they're good. But you do gain a tolerance. Or think of it like drugs. David is very avid in this territory. Think of it like drugs. Tolerance. But soon that dose, you start needing it more and more.
I see how that relates, I mean, you go from snorting 1 line of coke to snorting 1 kilo a day.
Are you speaking from personal experience?
If I say yes, is that a felony? I think that's a couple of felonies.
Nah, the statutes of limitation. You're chilling.
Okay.
It depends how long ago it was, actually.
Oh, fair enough.
I plead the 5th.
I plead the 5th.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Moving on.
The 5th and final killing. Miller County, 2 miles northeast of Texarkana, off Highway 67. Virgil Starks, who was 37, and his wife Katie Starks, 36, were on their 500-acre secluded farm having themselves a normal night. Virgil sat on his easy chair in the living room while his wife got ready for bed, when suddenly 2 gunshots punctured the window and embedded themselves in Virgil's head. Katie, being alerted by the sudden noise, ran into the room, finding Virgil slumped over and bleeding. She rushes over to Virgil in a panic, quickly faced with the realization there was nothing she could do. Unbeknownst to her, a dark figure stands on the other side of the window on her porch. She runs to her crank telephone to call the police. Before she can finish, 2 more gunshots ring out and find Katie. She is shot twice in the head, 1 shot hitting her chin, breaking her jaw, and the other one entering her right cheek and exiting behind her left ear. But that didn't stop her. Blinded by her own blood, she crawled to the living room looking for a pistol Virgil kept in there, all while she hears the assailant trying to break the window and enter her home to finish the job. By pure adrenaline, she was able to run out the door and escape to her neighbors. She was able to tell her neighbor who answered that Virgil was dead before she collapsed.
An absolute baller of a woman. Shot in the head twice, doesn't stop her.
What's the, female equivalent of the word stud? Is there one?
We have an obligation right now to make this word.
We do. I'm not really the creative type.
Nor am I. Yo, Terry!
Police on the scene found a red flashlight in the hedges beneath the window that the Starks were shot from. The local Texarkana Gazette newspaper published a color photograph of the flashlight in hopes people could identify it, given that it was a rare color and type for that area.
Fun fact, this is the first time in history a local newspaper printed a colored image.
So local newspaper, meaning there had already been newspapers before that had printed the color red. Or this was the first paper.
Why are you pressing me? I don't know these answers.
The flashlight was sent to the FBI, but after intense tests, no DNA was found on it. They also found .22 cartridges outside the bullet-damaged window.
That explains how she survived 2 hits to the head. If it was a 9mm, she's dead. 22s are a little more likely.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. The military thing might add up just a little bit.
Why?
2 headshots on the guy. I'm granted, he's sitting in a chair, sitting still. We're assuming he's sitting pretty close to the window.
It's through a window, though.
But to hit the girl running in the head twice, not bad,
All David is saying is game recognized game. Wait.
Authorities believed it came from a rifle due to the succession of shots. The Arkansas State Police would set up Highway 67 blockades and question anyone leaving or arriving that same night. This resulted in 12 people being detained and 3 kept for more questioning before ultimately releasing everyone once they were cleared of suspicion. The day after, bloodhounds were brought to the Virgil's residence and would pick up the killer's scent and bring them to the nearby highway before going cold, which means the assailant must have had a car waiting there and somehow evading detection or suspicion from the highway blockades, escaped that same night.
Dude's smart.
That raises more questions than answers. First of all, the people they are detaining, why? What is leading them to have suspicion on them and not the real guy, right?
I mean, I'm assuming it's just anyone that drives by, right?
Maybe, yeah. I was thinking more like, you can't just arrest people willy-nilly, but at the same time, they're in vicinity of a murder that just happened. Maybe, some things, probable cause, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and I mean, they instituted a curfew. I don't know if they went so far as to like establish martial law, but if they did go that far, then they probably would be in their right to kind of interrogate whoever they want driving by.
That's true. In the heightened, like hysteria, probable cause is like doubled on that just because of what's happened and what just happened with the Virgil attack. But yeah, crazy that the one guy they needed got away.
I almost wish I could see the area, and just kind of think about this is where the car likely was in this area. These were the blockades were. It'd be super interesting to kind of almost, play the hypothetical game of how the crap do you run away.
And it's 500 acres.
It's a lot of
acres.
It's
a lot, yeah. The people who are driving down there, you're not going to have a ton of people because it's not a city, right? So the people driving down there are down there for a reason. But hearing that, do you find it any interest or find it odd? Notice how the attack is different from the previous ones?
Well, sure. I mean, this one, it's not on a lover's lane type thing, right? It's in someone's home. This one is using a .22 caliber versus, I think we were looking at a 32 and so just a 32. This one was a .22, so a good deal smaller.
That detective eye, something to look at, okay?
It's worth pointing out that the attack on the Virgils didn't seem like the other attacks right away, with a different type of weapon and location being used. However, let's look at some of the similarities. A secluded couple attacked, sinister motives with no signs of a robbery, within 30 minutes of the other attacks, and it all happened at the 3-month mark. It's possible it showed the progression of the culprit, getting bolder with his attacks or just adjusting to the heightened police activity on lover lanes. Dr. Anthony LaPaula was a psychologist at the Federal Correctional Institute in Texarkana. He believed without a doubt the Starks attack was from the Phantom.
The most different, which you wouldn't be able to explain with the heightened police, is the gun. It's a different type of gun.
I mean, it is really interesting that all of these happen within 30 minutes of each other. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense why he would steer away from the lover lanes. There were reports that they would literally hire people who looked young to go sit in a car in a secluded area, police staking it out, and wait for an attack to happen. Even got down to points where cops were dressed in a car with mannequins waiting for someone to attack them, debate the attacker.
That's wild.
It didn't lead anywhere, but you see why, if it is the Phantom's killing, why he's not there.
Now that we have the crime laid out, it's time to dive into some theories about who the Phantom Killer could have been. With over 400 people suspected by the police, we will look at what I believe to be the 3 most convincing. Theory number 1. A 29-year-old car thief named Ewell Swinney was the Phantom Killer. Max Tackett, a young Arkansas police officer, would make a breakthrough in the murder cases. He put together that every night the Phantom Killer struck, a car was also reported stolen in the area. Months later, they found one of the reported stolen cars abandoned. They would stake out the car, waiting for the assailant to appear. However, what they got was a woman named Penny, the new wife of a car thief named Ewell Swinney. Ewell was a 29-year-old white skinny male, which somewhat matches the description from Jimmy Hollis in the first attack. When they asked her where Ewell was, she told him he was selling a stolen car in Texas. They would alert authorities, and not long after, Ewell Swinney would be in police custody. Tillman Johnson, a deputy in Miller County, Arkansas at the time, was one of the arresting officers. Tillman states, quote, "When we got him into the car, he looked at me and asked if he was going to the electric chair. I laughed and told him we didn't execute people for stealing cars. That's when he said, 'I know what you guys want me for. You want me for more than stealing a car.'" End quote. After hours of interrogations with Ewell that led nowhere, they pivoted their attention to the new wife, Penny. Penny would confess 3 times that her husband, Ewell, was the Phantom Killer. Her first confession was on July 23, 1946. She told investigators that she and Ewell had been driving back from the theater when he parked off the side of the road to pee. They stopped near Spring Lake Park, the same park where the second homicide victims, Paul Martin and Betty Booker, were found. An hour later and still no sign of Ewell, Penny hears what she believes to be 2 gunshots. When the sun starts coming up is when Ewell returns. He didn't say where he had been, but his clothes were wet up to his waist. He then quickly floated out of the area.
I mean, you would think this would be open and shut.
So, what's yet to be known, huh? But it is interesting, she hears 2 shots, even though these victims were shot like multiple times. Assuming she's telling the truth. One, it could just be, I heard 2 shots, maybe she heard more. But if she did think she heard 2 shots, Betty's body was found miles away from Paul's.
Right.
So she could have heard Paul's, and then, since maybe Betty ran for it and the Phantom had to track her down, he shoots her 2 miles away. You're not going to hear a gunshot 2 miles away. So that's why she might only heard 2 gunshots.
Wasn't Paul shot like 4 times, though?
Well, I guess it depends in relation to the car where it was. So
True,
Betty could have been
true.
shot first. That's just an explanation for maybe why she only heard 2 gunshots.
The second confession was the next day, on July 24th. However, she changed the story quite a bit. She went from an ignorant bystander to a willing accomplice. She revealed she witnessed the murder of Betty and Paul, and it was a robbery turned murder. After going to the movies, they went to Spring Lake Park to get drunk and rob someone. They spotted Paul's car and pulled over about 200 yards ahead. Ewell then got out and approached Paul's car window with a gun, demanding their money. He forced the 2 out of their car and shot Paul twice with a .32 pistol. He then put Betty in his car and tried to make sexual advances on her. When she resisted, he shot her. In November, she would have her 3rd confession, where she was actually brought to the scene of the crime, where she told officers where she had watched it all happen. When the police went to check, they found a woman's heel print in the woods where she said she had been. However, the most incriminating was when she relayed information not available to the public. Paul's date book had been found discarded at the crime scene. She told how Swinney threw Paul's date book away when he killed him.
So, you're a detective and you find a piece of evidence and you don't tell the public. You have someone come confess to you, and you're like, okay, tell me something only the killer would know. She says that, you're like, holy crap, how do you know that? It's like a slam dunk at that point, right?
Yeah, it's that or she's the fall guy. She's in on it or she's the fall guy.
I didn't think of that, the scapegoat, yeah.
But that is absolutely insane.
It is crazy. What is confusing, though, is why does she keep changing her story? The first time it makes sense. I don't want to implicate myself. I heard shots, he was gone, we were near the area. Okay, believable. You don't seem like a murderer.
Fair.
But then why would you confess a second time and be like, no, okay, I was there. I didn't pull the trigger, but I didn't do anything to stop it either. Like, why change the story?
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's 2, totally separate, before and afters. I mean, you're talking about, the first one, yeah, she was just there, and the second one, they were, actively getting drunk and looking to rob someone. That is totally different, which is super interesting. I don't know why you'd go from confessing no crimes to confessing, 3 or 4.
3 or 4, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. But then the third crime, is you implicate yourself even more with, oh yeah, not only did I not stop him murdering them, he tried to advance on Betty, and then he said he killed her, and then, oh yeah, that date book we discarded, it's right there in the bushes. He's the guy! He can't not be the guy!
I don't know how you have other theories when you have this.
Well, let's just get more into it.
It was later discovered that Ewell had a .32 gun he had lost in the game of craps, and he had a bloody shirt in his room with the word Start on it.
Bro, come on.
Virgil Stark, for the 3rd attack. And I looked it up. Stark was not like a popular brand of any clothing in the 1940s. It's not even a clothing brand now.
Who wears their last name on a shirt, though?
I'll do you one better. Who wears their last name on a shirt of a guy they're about to kill?
That is one better. Makes no sense.
It doesn't. Granted, I couldn't find more sources that also claimed about this shirt, but there was at least 2 that said, yeah, there was a shirt with the word Stark on it. Coincidence?
I think not.
Ain't no way.
Ewell was taken to Little Rock, where he was injected with a truth serum to get a confession.
By the cops?
Yes. This is the 40s. They would pump you full of anything and claim it was a truth serum.
You're probably not wrong.
Comically, he was given too much and was knocked unconscious. After that incident, Ewell wouldn't say anything about the murders. Soon after, Penny would recant all her confessions and wouldn't testify against Ewell since they were married, and by law, spouses cannot be forced to testify against each other. With recanted and inconsistent confessions and no physical evidence against Ewell Swinney, the police did not feel they had strong enough evidence to convince a jury, given that it was all circumstantial. Even fingerprints found at the Pauls murders didn't match Ewell's. Furthermore, after months of trying to validate Penny's claims, they would find reasonable evidence to prove that Ewell and Penny were asleep under a bridge in San Antonio in their car the night of the Betty and Paul murders. With all that, the police would cut their losses and try Ewell in a court for car theft, to which a court found Ewell guilty on the car theft charges, and since he was a repeat offender, he would be given a life sentence behind bars.
Alright, disclaimer. The reports where they were sleeping under the bridge at the same time of the murder so they couldn't have done it, allegedly it's in a newspaper. I couldn't find the newspaper. And I couldn't find any source that had links to it or anything. Two sources said, yeah, there were other sources in that time saying they were asleep, but I never actually saw the primary source. Take that how you will. But if that is true, what? You're asleep, literally miles away at the time of the murder, and yet you know details not public about the murders. This is why I'm paying you the big bucks. Explain it.
Yeah, so the evidence suggests that I have no freaking idea. That makes no sense. Because I guess the biggest issue is, yeah, we don't have the primary source. Let's say we did find the newspaper. How did the newspaper get that information? Was it an eyewitness? This is a stupid question. Did they even have security cameras back then? Like, was that like a pretty relevant thing?
It's the 40s. They didn't have electricity, bro.
Wait. I don't think that. Even if we did find the newspaper, like, what evidence did the newspaper have to say, oh yeah, irrefutable claim, they were asleep under a bridge?
But okay, let's say you're not the investigator, you're on a jury. Let's say they did take them to court, and you hear the prosecutor say, she knew details of items from the victim that were discarded at the scene that were not open to the public. Only the killer would know that information. And then the defense says, there's no way she was there because she was asleep under a bridge in a town miles away. What are you thinking as a juror?
At the very least, she can be charged with accomplice to murder, if not the actual killer, having known stuff and not brought it forward, right?
Yes,
it's gotta be some kind of a crime.
Yes, that is like obstruction of justice. But if I'm a juror and I hear that, does the fact that I guess there is a source saying she was asleep, does that automatically negate the information that she knew information that only the killer would know?
Definitely not.
So here's what I think. It's a long shot. It's a conspiracy. Oh, we got the tinfoil hats on. She could be you said fall guy. I'm going to say she's the alibi for Ewell. Ewell killed them. She wasn't there. She was in San Antonio asleep under a car. Maybe with a different guy in there. Maybe just herself claiming, oh yeah, Ewell was with me asleep. Someone saw us, an eyewitness, right? Maybe it was the car. They saw the car. Penny's like, oh yeah, I was asleep in that car. And they connected the car to the guy in there. Maybe they didn't actually see the guy, but they're like, it's the car. So he was there. Well, he's actually doing these murders. She's got an alibi for both of them. No, we weren't there. She feels the heat, so she confesses, okay, yeah, I didn't do anything, but he did kill them. That's how she knows all the information, because he actually did. But then realizing she just incriminated herself by changing up her statement, she recants all of it. And then whether she knew the police didn't have enough information or what, it never goes to trial. Far-fetched? By all means. Possible? Yes.
I can't poke any holes in it.
Reasonable doubt. Is there reasonable doubt she wasn't under that bridge? Yes. She knew information. What's the only explanation of how she could have known that? Ewell told her, because Ewell was the one who did it. Was she there?
All fair points.
But then it raises the questions, why lie that she was there in the first place if she's the alibi? No, we were in a car asleep. Or at least I was. Why not just tell the police if you are going to confess, oh, I wasn't there, but he told me this?
Yeah, it seems almost counterintuitive for sure.
It really depends on that. Whatever witness or source saying, nope, they're in San Antonio. They're not even in Texarkana.
I mean, it must have been a good enough source for the cops to think they didn't have enough.
I know, and they didn't, so they never went to trial.
Yeah.
Mark Bledsoe, a 37-year-old former probation officer who began researching the case in the early 90s, tracked Ewell down in Dallas in 1992. Ewell, who had served his time, suffered a stroke and was 75 at the time. When Mark Bledsoe talked to Ewell, Mark said, quote, "He spent some time bragging about his counterfeiting days and talking about being in and out of prison. But when I asked him about the Phantom murders, he became very angry and denied that he had anything to do with them. He even refused to admit he had ever been married." Ewell died a year later at 76.
As you're looking at like his statement earlier about like, I know you want me for more than cars, counterfeiting, that's legit. That's
I didn't think of that.
That's a pretty serious, crime.
But he also said, "Am I getting the chair for counterfeiting?" It's not a victimless crime, but it's a non-violent crime. Name me one non-violent crime that gets you the electric chair. Is he stupid? Probably. He's a car thief. Probably dropped out of high school. Could be a junkie. I don't know. His statement is so whack. You want me more than just stealing cars. Could it be counterfeiting? Sure. But then why would he say the electric chair? Is he stupid? Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, that, and you also got, like, the fact that he refused that he was married ever.
See, that's weird.
And
I was like,
odd.
Maybe it's the stroke. But I'm like, then how does he remember everything else about his criminal past, right? But then he's like, no, I wasn't married. Yeah, you were. No, I wasn't.
I mean, did things go poorly in the marriage or something? Is that something we know?
If I had to imagine, she left him because he's in prison for freaking 30 plus years.
Terry,
pull that up. Check that.
Look that up, fam.
So while Terry's looking that up, we're gonna have zero answers. Isn't it crazy? You hear all that crap at the beginning. Information, same place, confession, this, that, and this. Slam dunk. And homie literally gotta live out his day and just die of natural causes, essentially.
If he did get away with it, he did it very well.
We're not saying props to UL, but...
No. That guy sucks if he did it. And he sucks anyway for counterfeiting and stealing cars.
So, that is, without a doubt, probably the strongest theory. But, these next two are pretty good too. Theory number 2. Henry Tennyson, aka Duty, was a 6'3", 18-year-old who committed suicide 2 years after the attacks from the Phantom Killer in Arkansas. He confessed that he was the Phantom Killer in a cryptic suicide note. The police would find that note by following a series of riddles and instructions from another note left by Duty that would help investigators open his locked box. There have been conflicting reports on what letters were found, when, and where. The generally accepted report is that he had some letters addressed to his family, which disclosed what gifts they should all receive. While one of his letters said this, quote, "Why did I take my own life? Well, when you committed 2 double murders, you would too. Yes, I did kill Betty Jo Booker and Paul Martin in the city park that night, and killed Mr. Starks and tried to get Mrs. Starks. I did it when Mother was either out or asleep, and no one saw me do it. For the guns, I disassembled them and discarded them in different places." End quote.
There's nothing in that note that, like, you couldn't find in a newspaper and then make a story out of. I mean...
True, there's no new information.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I could read this story and say the exact same thing, and no one would be the wiser.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think it's interesting, and it's... I don't know, I guess it's possible, but, I mean, the dude killed himself, so he's obviously struggling with something.
What are your thoughts that he literally thought he was the Riddler and made the detectives go through some Scooby-Doo nonsense to open a locked box and see these notes?
I mean, it depends on how good the riddles and stuff were.
I'll be real with you, I don't think they were that good.
Especially before AI.
Before Terry.
Before Terry?
I mean...
What a dog.
Can you imagine being a cop and it's like, up, down, left, right, left, right, B-A. And you're like, what the frick? It's just, I thought it was funny. I was like, homie, he planned that out. He's like, I'm gonna kill myself, but let's have some fun with this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I was a cop and started reading some riddle that, like, rhymed and stuff and had to follow a trail, if I was really bored, had nothing to do, I'd probably be kind of sick. But isn't he living in a town where there's been, at this point, what, 5, 6 murders?
Yeah.
So I got plenty to do.
Yeah.
Probably inconvenient.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because in his head, he's like, yeah, this would be so baller, straight out of Batman.
I'm the Riddler. These fools are Gotham PD.
Zodiac who?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's literally probably the most jank, low-level, garbage riddles or whatever. It's like, yeah, more Scooby-Doo than Batman. The funniest part is, the cops literally gave up halfway through and just broke open the box. They're like, dude, forget this. Just break it open.
That's awesome.
There was another note found later stating, quote, "Please disregard all other messages which I have written. They are only thoughts which I was thinking about as possible reasons for taking my own life." End quote. Some say this is him recanting his claims of being the Phantom, while others state that him telling people to disregard isn't recanting, rather telling them to move past it.
If he was going to recount it, why not just destroy the letters? Rip them up, throw them away? Like, why?
That's true.
Why write a whole nother letter being like, but disregard everything? Like,
That's true.
I mean, unless he literally did all the work and made this crap up, and then at the very end was just like,
Just destroy it at that point.
Yeah.
Doody had also many connections to the victims. Doody was actually a fellow classmate with Betty Jo Booker. He was in the same band class as her. He played the trombone. He also would have come in contact with the victims of the first 2 attacks, given that he worked as a theater usher, and all 4 of them had gone to the movies prior to their attacks. Doody also had 2 friends. One lived in the same house of Katie Stark's sister, and the other lived a couple doors down from the sister. However, there are some doubts in this theory.
So a lot of this information is coming from a website where a guy, we have to take his word on this. He's claiming he's a direct descendant from, or sorry, I guess not direct descendant. His like great uncle is Doody.
Okay.
And he's actually a forensics guy. Like the guy who made this website. I don't ask what branch of forensics he's in, but like that's his job. And he has a whole website dedicated to, was Doody the Phantom Killer? It's quite interesting. And when he made all these connections, I was like, granted, Terry, how many people were in Texarkana in the 1940s?
I would have disregarded basically everything about this theory, but that is super interesting that he knew them all. That's actually kind of crazy.
Like, what are the odds he frequents a house that was directly related to the last victims? So it depends on how big the population is. Terry, you got that? The total combined population of the Twin Cities, meaning the left and right of Texas and Arkansas, 47,000. That's a lot.
That's even, oh my gosh.
Because I was going to say, if he knows all of them, he has all these connections because there's 5,000 people in this town. Okay. 47K? That starts to raise some eyebrows.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Oh my gosh.
And to have connections to every single one of them.
The first being that Doody would have only been 16 at the time of the killings. His family has also stated they find it almost impossible that he was responsible, stating they didn't even know if he knew how to load a gun. But the biggest flaw is that James Freeman, Doody's friend, provided an alibi that he was with Doody at his house the night of the Stark attack. While the investigation into Doody eliminated him as a suspect, it was also poorly handled. They tried matching Doody's fingerprints to other prints found at a crime scene. However, the other prints were not known and very unlikely to be the Phantom's. They then tested 2 guns owned by Doody's brother, both .22 caliber rifles. They concluded they did not match the ballistics of the cartridges of the Phantom killings, ignoring the fact he stated in his suicide letter that he dismantled and discarded the guns he used.
Is it possible a 16-year-old could have done all this? 100%. Why not? Homie's 6'3".
I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a basketball coach running up to him, as soon as he turned 16.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, and let me tell you something.
Yeah. Because you think, you're like, he's 16. No. Kids have done crazy crap. Are we saying it's past a teenager to kill someone? No.
Absolutely not.
No. Because, the Phantom Killer, he's a serial killer. I actually learned today from Terry, the average age a serial killer, breaks, where they start doing whatever, is 28.
It's pretty young.
Yeah. So, 16 is way younger, but he could have just broke,
And I wonder how that would factor into the 3-month cool down, or 3-week, whatever it was, cool down.
School, maybe. I also think, let's say he is psychopathic. It's the cool down period, right? He's got school, he's got other things. He gets that itch, late night, boom. Or what you were saying at the beginning, it's a jealousy thing. He's around the same age as all these teenagers, right? He's a loser. He can't get no honey. What does he do? Takes his anger out on the people that are just way more baller than him.
As sad as that is to say, it tracks.
Dude, he's just a little loser.
What a clown. Imagine not being able to get women.
Yeah, David.
Duty has never been ruled out fully as a suspect, but at the end of the day, Duty took any unanswered questions with him while he was alone that dreadful day in his room.
Thoughts on this theory just in total?
I'd give it like a 4 out of 10. I think the connections are crazy. I think that is ridiculous. That being said, I also think that the odds of him actually killing all these people, but not really providing any evidence to like corroborate that, besides, again, random stuff that anyone could read in the paper and then build their own little story, I think it's pretty weak. But the connections, those are crazy.
I just had a light bulb moment.
Oh, this should be good.
The blockades they put when the Starks were attacked. He had a friend by Katie Stark's sister. I don't know where the sister lived. I'm going to assume it's close to the Starks.
Fair assumption.
If he's always in that area, he drives past the blockade. Not only is he a kid, he's 16, but he's like, oh yeah, my best friend, James, lives down the street. I'm there every week. You can go talk to him. He has an alibi for why he would be there, because he's normally there.
That's a good point.
He's normally there. He's 16. They're like, he didn't do this. Yeah, go along. Get out of here, you know?
I like that.
The biggest is definitely the connections. Is this as strong as the UL Swinney?
Oh my
Absolutely
gosh,
not. No.
Theory number 3. An ex-military resident named Ralph Bauman is the Phantom Killer. According to Ralph, he awoke from a 3-week subconscious coma when he heard about the Stark killing. Realizing that he matched the description of the assailant and that his rifle he owned was missing, he thought he was the Phantom. Paranoia led him to flee Texarkana, hitchhiking all the way to Los Angeles. Not being able to bear the guilt of possibly having committed these crimes, he confessed to officers in LA. He seemed to be a solid suspect for them. He matched the description of the killer and was well trained in firearms and combat. However, after interviewing him, his story had very little basis of facts, and he didn't provide any new information. Everything he told was already made public, therefore throwing more doubt at his confession. On top of that, he was discharged from the military due to being psychoneurotic, which is an abandoned term now, but meant he had persistent emotional problems without losing touch with reality. The police would clear him as a suspect, believing he was nothing more than mental.
I like this one because he's in this weird phase. He claims he was like unconscious. Could be the split personality thing, right? Where one conscious takes over the other, and then when it comes back, they don't know what they've been doing. PTSD, ex-military, very violent attacks. It adds up. He would know his firearms. He would know how to shoot through a window, hit targets in the head, because that's what he's been trained to do. And he doesn't remember any of it, but that's why his gun's missing also. How's Ralph on your suspect scale?
I don't know what his condition was. I have no idea what any of those words mean. I think just about a little under half the people in Texarkana matched that description, being 6 foot, maybe black, maybe white, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of freaking people. His rifle going missing, I mean, I guess that's an issue, for sure, contributes. But I don't think that there's anything to, like, strongly suggest that it was him. I do think, for sure, the skill set is there. The rifle, the weapon is there, obviously. But I can't quite commit to that idea. Especially with him thinking that it was him because of the really vague description. I think more speaks to his mental state than it does the probability that he was the actual killer.
If you have a doctor saying, yeah, he kind of has like these mental problems, but he's never lost touch with reality. And it's like, well, then how did he lose touch for 3 weeks or whatever, right? He's probably the weakest suspect, but it was worth pointing out just because he was there at the time. He fit the description, kind of the criteria of how it all happened, and he himself thought he was the killer.
79 years after the first attack, the identity of the Phantom Killer has never been discovered. Could it have been a car thief whose wife knew a little too much about the killings? A college student who confessed to the crimes and had ties to all the victims? Or a mentally unstable veteran who lost control during an unconscious blackout period remains unknown. Some say maybe the truth isn't meant to be discovered. We say maybe the truth will take us across state lines.
So after hearing everything, what are your final thoughts on the Texarkana Phantom Killer?
I'm going to go with the layup and say that it's our boy, number 1.
UL?
UL. I don't know how else you explain some of those other things. I mean, granted, all the kind of weird stuff about recounting testimony and reacting poorly to being asked if you were married when in fact you were, all that into account, I think if we're gonna put anyone on trial, it's gonna be Ewell.
The strongest suspect is Ewell. The fact that they knew stuff that only the killer could know is kind of like, maybe by legal standards, the confessions, lack of evidence, he didn't kill. Reality standards, I think he's our guy.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think he is, and I just think Duty wanted to be remembered for something when he offed himself.
And he knew those riddles weren't going to do it.
He's right. He's like, dude, these suck. I need to work and like blow things out of. I am the killer.
I am the Phantom Killer.
Yeah. That's a wrap on our first serial killer we've covered, and probably not the last, if I'm being honest. But yeah, next time, California. There will actually be a ton of options to choose from.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, we're probably not going to do the Zodiac killer or something super known. I kind of like the more unknown but equally interesting, because I assume most people listening to this already heard stuff about the Zodiac and all that jazz. I'm not going to give you a time period when we're getting that out, but know it's in the works, so
we'll get there.
Yeah. Any last words, David?
Nope.